What is up, YouTube? And today I want to talk about the current Mystic Banner ML 5-star, which is going to be ML LUA or Helion LUA. Now you guys can actually see that I have been trying to pull for her. I am 38 summons away from pity. I have about 6 summons saved up, and I do have 10,000 Skystones. So honestly, if I wanted to go for her, I will be able to pity her if I just roll the secret shop and get some Mystic Medals. But honestly, I don't even know if that's really a good idea because I've been playing against her. It just doesn't seem that great, and we'll talk about why. So if you guys don't know what she does, she is a Dark Ranger. So looking at her S3, it is going to be a new buff in the game. She will grant challenge to all allies before increasing defense of herself for 2 turns. This will also decrease buff durations of all enemies by 1 turn, and also have a 70% chance to provoke. This will go up to 100% chance once you max this out, and this will be a 4-turn cooldown. So right away, you can see that her kit is very interesting. She has this AoE provoke. She gives your team challenge, which is going to be after that ally counterattacks when you have challenge. So if you have challenge and you counterattack, the target will also deal, or I guess the person that has the challenge buff will also deal an additional 8% of the target's max health. Basically, when you're counterattacking, you're doing 8% of the target's max health again. And you'll also increase your speed of the attacker for 2 turns. So a lot of texture. Basically, if you have challenge and you counterattack, what ends up happening is that you will do 8% max health of the target's in damage, and also you get speed buff. And this seems really good, but you have to realize that it's not that good, right? 8% max health is literally barely anything. This barely tickles you, right? If you're fighting like a 20k health Soul Weaver, that's pretty much going to be what, like not even 2k damage. So pretty terrible damage wise. And you're also going to see whenever she's attacked here, what you'll actually do is counterattack with allies granted by challenge, and this will be all of them. So basically what she does is she provokes with her S3. People attack Helion LUA, and the first one that attacks her will actually trigger this counterattack from all the allies granted challenge. She'll also get a ton of combat readiness whenever she gets attacked with her team, and yeah, you're basically just making people attack her, and then she will have her team counterattack back. So seems pretty good, but you have to keep in mind it's only one effect, and it's just really weird, to be honest, because your ranger, first of all, so your base stats, your tankiness is pretty low. You're going to see that her effectiveness, her imprint doesn't really matter, right? Because her imprint concentration is effectiveness, which makes sense because she wants to provoke, but her S3 ignores effect resist anyways, so it's way better to give her a health percent imprint because you want her to be tankier so she can live, right? Even though she gets this defense buff, there's so much defense penetration nowadays that it doesn't really matter too much. And yeah, like I said, just being squishy and having, targets forced to attack her just seems really odd. Her S1 is also provoke here, which does make sense with her kit. But you have to keep in mind she's kind of like a one and done unit, right? What she does is she starts the game, right? She S3s, provokes everyone, your team gets counterattack, and then you're just going to be doing a lot of counterattacking. You want to see her pushing and some damage. And then after that, when you're provoking, it's okay to provoke because you're CR pushing your team. But, it's really hard to build her because sure, you get effectiveness from your concentration, but you still want her to be very tanky, right? You want her to be very tanky because you don't want her just to S3 and die because her passive is so strong. And without her passive, without her being alive, her challenge buff is pretty much useless, right? So yeah, there's a lot of stats that you need to invest into her to make her work in PvP. And because of that, I find that she's really hard to use. And like I mentioned, after S3, she's pretty much useless. She gets countered by anything that counters counterattackers, right? So anything like Lionheart Sermia, Rowana, and stuff like that are very good against her. Also, she gets countered by unbuffables, right? Even though she's a ranger, she is pretty fast, but you can't really build her too fast because, like I mentioned, you want her to be very tanky. So it's just really odd to play her. She doesn't seem that great because, like I mentioned, you just need a ton of stats for her, and she kind of just S3s and it's over. Also, it's really hard to put her into team comps because if you put her in like a cleave team comp, an aggressive team comp, which is what I think you're supposed to do, you basically have her as like the provoker, and then your team just counterattacks over and over. You run the risk of not winning the battle instantly and you just lose. If you run her with a very tanky, like bulky team, her kit doesn't really work that well because they're counterattacking. Even though this additional damage is 8%, which is very low, honestly, the damage just does nothing, right? So just a very interesting unit. I don't really think she's worth going for. I think even though she looks amazing, her animations are great, and if you're into like the school, vibe for her design, sure, maybe you want to go for just based off that. But gameplay-wise, from what I've been seeing in the past few days after her release, I don't really feel that scared of her. Honestly, she feels a little bit underwhelming. I'd say like out of 10, I would give her probably like a 5 or a 6. I don't think she's like strong per se, but I don't think she's like super weak. It's because of that, I think Smilegate actually did a good job in releasing a balanced unit. But, you know, looking at the past ML5 stars we've had, they've all been super broken. So I think people had really high expectations for Helion Lua. But because she ended up being, you know, I'd say like average or maybe a little bit above average even, I think people are a little bit disappointed. But for me personally, because, you know, Mystic Summons, although they're easier to get now, Mystic Metals are, you still want to use your pities very sparingly. And for me, I think I will have to skip her and probably wait for the next ML5 star to come out. But yeah, let me know in the comments down below what you guys think about this character and if you're pulling for it or if you already have. I'm just interested what you guys think about her, if I'm the only one that thinks she's not that great. And I'll see you guys next video.